numerical value associated with.
Okay, so it appears now that the next video has started on the phone. So I apologize for the interruption here. So you can consider this now as being video 4, okay, of the video series that will be titled Gang Stalking, Neural Influencing, Remote Neural Monitoring. So this is a direct continuation of where I left off at in the 3rd video, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to play this.
Every single pixel, which would then be reconstructed on the other end. But that's a lot of information, and we need to...
Alright, so let me go back just a second here. Bear with me. Okay. So listen closely, especially when it comes to color coding and black and white.
Now, to send a digital image, we could just send the numerical value associated with every single...
Back up just a little bit more. Bear with me. Okay.
...a YouTube video, but we can get a very good idea for the general concept and how they managed to reduce the necessary storage by a factor of 20. So let's see what they did. A digital image, when you zoom in, is just made up of a bunch of pixels, each of a specific color, and those colors are represented by some numerical value. Now, for this video, like that previous one, we will only be worried about grayscale images, where we can have black, white, and a continuous spectrum of different shades of gray, so pictures like these. Now, to send a digital image, we could just send the numerical value associated with every single pixel, which would then be reconstructed on the other end. But that's a lot of information, and we need something much better. To understand the algorithm that was used, we first need to realize that we can make any image, from this all the way to this, or the Mona Lisa, or whatever, using sine waves. If that seems super weird, don't worry, it did to me too at first, because it doesn't even seem like images and these functions mix. But here's how they do. First, I'm going to graph z equals cosine x, which will yield a 3D plot that looks like this. All this is a regular cosine curve extended in an extra dimension. But we sort of don't really care about the 3D aspect, because what I'm going to do is color the top of this black, the bottom will be white, and there will be a continuous fade in between, so a spectrum of gray. Now we're going to look at this from the top view only. What we have here is a 2-dimensional cosine curve. It's an image that oscillates back and forth in one direction, but in color rather than height. And you'll notice it's constant along the y-axis. If I instead graph z equals cosine of y, then we get the same thing, but the colors are constant in the x direction and change in the y direction. If I increase the frequency, then we get faster changes in color, and lower frequencies correspond to slower changes. Now, if I graph cosine of x plus y, then the colors stay constant along a 45-degree angle. This is what we really care about. Cosine of some number u times x plus another number v times y. When u and v are the same, we get what we see here. The colors are angled at 45 degrees, or 135 depending on your reference. And as I increase u while decreasing v, you'll notice that the angle changes, as well as the frequency in this case, until we get to v equals 0, where the colors are oriented vertically, like we saw before. Now, if we take, let's say, cosine of x and cosine of 2y, then combine them, we get a slightly more complex image, whose equation is cosine x plus cosine 2y. If we then add in something like cosine 0.5x plus 0.3y, we get this. It gets more chaotic. And it turns out if you kept doing this with just the right functions, usually an infinite amount, you could create any grayscale image you wanted. So yes, any picture you see can be thought of as a bunch of 2D sinusoids added up.
Okay, so check this out. Now, in gang stalking crimes, when you research color coding and gang stalking, what you need to understand is that what they're doing is that when you got a visual memory reference to a traumatic event that they will stage in gang stalking crimes, a lot of times these idiots that they use for the staged events will be wearing black and white, blue and white, lavender and white, and different patterns of these colors. Okay, so let me give you a fast example. Hopefully it will come up real fast, so bear with me a second. You got to pay attention closely to my statements, okay? Let me just check my battery. Okay, my battery seems to be fine. So what I'm going to do in this particular video is I'm going to show you something. I mean, in this particular segment of this video, I'm going to show you something real fast, okay? So I'm going to bring up my current blog, which is massively hacked and manipulated, and I'm trying to straighten it out, so just bear with me in case you go to it. Okay, so bringing it up. Now, what I did in this blog is recently I just added some pictures taken from a video of me catching an individual who came and sat directly right next to me as I was sitting in the University of Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan library, and he came and he sat right next to me, and I had a video camera that was hidden in my lap, okay? And they used to come and sit next to me and in front of me and across me all the time at U of M library, all the time wearing color coding. They still do it to this day along all my routes here in San Diego and everywhere I go, okay? So just bear with me for a second. I'll get to it here in a second. Okay. So what I did from the video that you just seen, I took snap screenshots of it on an earlier date. So the part that you just seen me play from the video, there's a snap screenshot of that video and how the colors were blended as the video continued. And then what you want to do is you want to, all right, now hold on, let me bring this picture up. What you want to do is you want to look at what this guy is wearing. So this is what the guy was wearing at you. I'm trying to zoom in on it, but it won't let me zoom in on it. So I don't know how well you can see this from a distance because the white appears to, let me zoom in on this a little bit. Hold on 1 second. With the phone I'm making this video through. Okay, so do you see how he's wearing a distortion of black and white? Okay. Now in the video that you just watched, turn this down a little bit so you can see it better. Now this is literally from the video of me catching this young man coming and sitting right next to me, and he was harassing me. So I turned on my video camera in my lap while my hands were cuffed, hiding it. And when what he did was he came and sat down next to me, and he was making these funny sounds and stuff, and putting his hands to his face, and forced me to notice it. And then he touched my shoulder. And right after he touched my shoulder is when I turned on the video camera that I had hidden in my lap, cuffed by my hands, turned it on, and as he was turning away looking back at his friends is when I took the video. Okay? And do you notice how he's wearing black and white? Okay? Now, what you need to understand in gang stalking crimes is that the human eye processes light, color density of articles of clothing, black and white. You're seeing this picture right here, it's black and white. And what happens, so let me go back and show you one other thing here because this all works together. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, now, these right here are called light crystal, ocular, biofilm, remote neural monitoring islands implants that are in my eyes right now. They're literally sewn onto my eyes by and through smart crystal light threads and or hooks that are sewn into the edge of my eyelids, which hold these biofilm light crystal islands implants onto my eyes. And these light crystals are basically the same concept of TV pixels and camera pixels, which is what captures, pictures and plays videos, enabling them to send video streams to these islands implants, and whatever is sent to them is seen in my visual cortex, including photos. What you want to do when you bring this video up that you see right here, that's right above the eyes, the YouTube video, bring it up, and it somewhat talks about these islands implants. Okay, so whenever they prop up an individual who's wearing black and white stripes, black and white checkers, or a blend of black and white that you've seen in the video I just played you, those color codes are being transferred through these islands implants back to what? Brain-to-computer interface remote neural monitoring. So that data of what I see gets sent to them, right? Now, what they do on the computer on their end is they already have a harvested visual memory of a prior traumatic event, which is connected to a brain and trained neural pathway. Okay, so let me go back to YouTube here for a second, because since this is a new video that started, that I played this audio of this video in the third video. This is now video number 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back and play the audio.
Neural monitoring is one of the terms.
So what I'm going to do is go back and play the audio of this video, so you can hear it in this particular video. Okay, and so you can hear what they have to say. So listen closely.
Neural monitoring is one of the terms we use for it. The other term is psychotronic weaponry. Weaponry that has been designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions.
Now, what do you see when you see these wavy lines, when you see those wavy lines going back and forth?
Not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter.
It's electromagnetic weapons, but it's also ultrasonic sound mixed in with it. Now, let me bring up my ultrasound app here real fast. Now, the video you just got done seeing me play a couple minutes ago, it literally showed you sine waves can be used in order to do what? Define color patterns, right? And what is color coding connected to gang stalking? This is an ultrasound detector app. And what do you think you're seeing? Okay, so these are very minuscule right now. Well, they know I'm making a video because cyber surveillance is a method of gang stalking. So they watch all gang stalking victims' exposures. These are sine waves perpetrated through ultrasound. Remember, you know how pregnant women go see a doctor so they can see how their fetus is doing through ultrasound? Well, ultrasound can also have an offset carrier wave on it to carry visual images. How do you think the pregnant mother is able to see the fetus of their baby in their belly when they go get an ultrasound? So you see, these are sine waves. Okay, perpetrated through ultrasound. Okay? Sent to the brain. And visual images can be put on these sine waves, okay, as an offset carrier wave. Okay, meaning that there's also an offset carrier wave. One wave is for sound, and then an offset carrier wave is put on them for visual images. Okay? And this is being picked up right now here at this area. I'm at a wooded area. This crime made me homeless. So when you look at that, you say, well, that doesn't really look like a sine wave. So this is ultrasound being caught in real time. Research ultrasonic sound bone conduction, torture, and gang stalking. Okay? And when you look at the features and functions of remote neural monitoring, they monitor and hack the audio cortex, sound, and the visual cortex, images. Right? So let me bring up another app here real fast. This is a multi-tone generator app. It's a sound generator app. Okay? Now, when you bring up this app, which I just did, this right here is a sine wave. So it's set for sine waves too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a point to where I can bring up multiple waves. And what you want to do is look down here once I set the tone. I'm going to turn it down so you don't have to hear it, the sound itself. And watch what you see. Okay? So this is a sine wave, but since it's at a very low amplitude, 19, you're not seeing it move. Now watch what happens when I turn it up. All right, hold on. Okay, now watch what happens when I turn it up. There you go. All right. So now it's at amplitude 67. Okay. Amplitude 67, 440. Okay, hertz. Right. So now that's what you see right here. This is the sine wave right here at a specific amplitude. And then when I turn it up and down, it all depends on. It's turning up and down. Now remember that video I played just about 3-4 minutes ago where sine waves are being used in order to distinguish the patterns of colors, color coding, gang stalking, whatever I see through these island implants pertaining to what physical color coding is propped up along my routes for people to wear. That visual imagery of the black and white color coding gets sent to the computer through the ultrasound that's being processed in the brain, sent to the brain. And the sine wave distinguishes it, perpetrated through the ultrasound. Okay? Remember, when a pregnant woman goes to the hospital to get an ultrasound so she can see her fetus, they put that little machine up against the stomach. Okay? And that enables the machine to show a visual image of the fetus. Right? So you can also go to Google and type in remote ultrasound. Okay? Now, hold on one second. My ashtray just dropped. All right. So, now, this is a very complex situation. Okay? So, the light crystal ocular biofilm eye lens implants, which are make me nothing but a walking, talking video camera, literally. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, what do you think do you think that these were put in my eyes for no reason? These are biofilm light crystal ocular eye lens implants that directly, remotely interface with your retinal monitor in real time. Everything I fucking see gets sent to them. Now, let's talk about visual memories for a second. When you go to Google, which I'm doing right now, and I'm going to use the microphone, and I'm going to just, I'm going to say, now watch what I do. I'm going to use the microphone. Now watch what I do. Like, look at what just came up. Like a bunch of black and white, yet grayish type images of people's faces. Okay? All right? And you should also go to Google and type in deep learning and gang stalking and non-consensual human experimentation. So watch what I say when I press on the microphone for Google search. Black and white colors, color patterns. Okay? See what it brings up? Now, you would not believe the different color coding that is propped up along my routes concerning black and white clothes, black and white purses, black and white scarves, black and white shoes, black and white pants that got black and white stripes on the side of them, or white stripes and the pants are black and white shoes, where the trim of the shoe, the bottom of the shoe is white or black, and the shoe itself is the opposite color, okay? Because when these color images are seen by my eyes, while the ultrasound is being processed in the brain, the sine wave of the ultrasonic sound is distinguishing the color pattern. It then gets sent back to the computer now, and so one of the reasons why is it because of the following that you're about ready to hear and see. So let me go back to Google and use the voice microphone for the following description. Visual memories. Okay? All right, so when you do an extensive research concerning visual memories and visual memory patterns, okay? Simply put, visual memory is the ability to remember what something looks like. Okay, so when they stage an event against the gang stalking victim using a perpetrator for it, like an assault or whatever, when they stage that event, the mind and body and brain is going to remember every stimuli connected to that event, including anything the perpetrator is carrying and or wearing pertaining to color codes. Okay, but you should also know that verbal dialogue can be used in auditory entrainment, which can be connected to the same thing. Okay, visual processing. Explain visual memory, brain balance. Okay, so the visual processing, you see the black and white color coding, the blue and white. Okay, so just do a lot of real good extensive research concerning how the eye. No, let me stay with visual memories here for a second. See, visual memories, if you're being attacked by someone on a prior date, okay, who was intentionally, purposely wearing a specific color code, well, your brain is going to remember that color coding, because when the event is over, the brain creates what is known as a visual memory related to the event, right? And the brain processes all the emotions, anxiety, duress, fear, okay, that the brain processed during the event. It all becomes part of the visual memory. Just like if you, let's just say when a guy goes up into and unpacks his tuxedo from his wedding day, which is black and white, and his wedding day was 20 years ago. When he sees that tuxedo, it's going to instantly stimulate vague visual memories of his wedding day. Okay? When he gets in his car and turns on his radio, and the song comes on, his wedding song comes on, his brain is going to instantly process vague visual memories of his wedding day. So sound can stimulate a visual memory. like including a word or a phrase. Okay, like, so when you go to Google and you extensively research the sensitization method of gang stalking, repeating words and phrases, identical words and phrases, repeating identical sounds, okay, propping up identical color coding patterns, because they know that ultrasound is processing in the brain for brain entrainment to the auditorial cortex and the visual cortex, which also is streamlined to visual memories. That's why gang stalking crimes are staging events to create episodic memories. And these staged events have to do with trauma. Okay? Because you need trauma in order to create disassociated states while the event is going on, because they love to create entrainment to disassociated states and traumatic brain injury and much more. But you see, when the traumatic event is going on, the perpetrator's wearing black and white, red and white, blue and white, lavender and white, brown and white. Why? Because as the victim is seeing the person attacking them and the color coding, that episodic memory is being created, which includes the visual memory, and that data is being sent to the computer as the victim's brain is processing the fear, the anger, the anxiety, the duress. All of that is being harvested from the victim. Okay? And it becomes part of a neural network, brain entrainment. Okay? Which is why I brought this video up and why this video is part of this particular video series. So when you're experiencing somebody hitting you and you're experiencing anger, while you're seeing that person who's hitting you wearing color coding, all of that information that's being processed in the brain and body is being stored on remote neural monitoring's database while the brain is processing it to a color code. And then this neural network that's created, that's connected to the staged event, that's also connected to the visual memory of the episode, is sent to the computer through the color coding when it comes to the visual memory references connected to it. So listen to the audio of this video. Oh, wait a minute. I turned off the Bluetooth speaker, so hold on. Let me turn it back on. Or somehow... Oh, no, I turned it down. Alright, hold on. I gotta turn the multi-tone generator back off. Okay. So, let me play this video real fast.
Remote neural monitoring is one of the terms we use for it. The other term is psychotronic weaponry. Weaponry that has been designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning.
So when a victim is experiencing an assault, they're experiencing anger, they're experiencing fear, they're experiencing pain, they're experiencing duress and anxiety. This is all being processed within the brain's neurological systems through the neural network that's being created, connected to the staged event. So all that anxiety, fear, anger, as they're being assaulted by someone who's wearing black and white, okay, is being captured in real time by the perpetrators, because the victim's brain is processing the ultrasound. And the ultrasound is what's interfacing with the neurological system and the central nervous system of the victim as the victim is enduring the event. Okay? So, now when you see these waves go back and forth, that's the signal they're sending to the victim. Okay? Now, what needs to be understood about this is that when you go to Google and you type in at Google, let me bring Google back up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the microphone and I'm going to say this. Alright, hold on. Brainwave EEGs.
According to Mayo Clinic, electroencephalogram is a test that detects
turn it down because for whatever reason that came up. Okay, so let's look at the image of a brainwave EEG. Okay? Look at that. Okay? So you compare that, okay, with what you see through the and oh, let me bring that back up for one more second because I'm going to show you this. All right, now hold on. So let me bring up this image. This is a brainwave EEG right here. Okay, let me show you another one. Okay, look at all these images. Brainwave EEG. Okay, they look just like the sound waves, don't they? Sine waves, right? Right? That were shown in both the videos I played in this movie in this video so far, right? So these are brainwave EEG signatures, okay? And you should know that when the brain is processing its own brain waves, it can also process the emotions and everything that is experienced by the brain during a staged event in gang stalking crimes. All the visual imagery you see is being processed on these brain waves. All of the emotions, all of the anger, the pain, the fear. The remote neural monitoring is capturing it in real time as the event and abuse is occurring. Okay, and you'll understand why this is important in a minute. So these are the brain waves right here. So you compare that with what you see by bringing back up the ultrasound detector app. What do you see? Okay. Now, if this phone starts another video, that video will have the same title, because this video, sometimes the memory card in this phone will start videos after 33 minutes and 9 seconds long. So if a new video starts, hold on, if a new video starts, I will title it the same title. It will be video 5, and it will be titled Gang Stalking, Neural Influencing, and Remote Neural Monitoring, video 5. So, you know, and do you notice how these ultrasound waves are going up to 60 decibels? Okay, and then going back down. You would not believe what I've screenshotted from my logged events. Let me bring a couple of those back up. And I'm at a fucking wooded area right now. Please excuse my language. Okay? So these iLens implants, anything I see concerning the color coding gets sent back to the computer. So I gave an example in the first, second, third, and third video, this being the fourth, about how you got a guy working on his car, and he's applying 200 pounds of pressure per square inch on a wrench that then accidentally slips off the nut of the engine block he's working on. And as a result, he hits his hand, and he goes into instant pain and anger at the same time. Men know what I'm talking about concerning that. While he's experiencing that extreme pain and extreme anger simultaneously, if remote neural monitoring is monitoring his brain, then what's happening is the remote neural monitoring is harvesting that brain wave along with the emotional cluster frequencies, the pain and the anger, and then can store it in their computer. And then what can happen is that they can then impose it, clone it, and impose it on a gang stalking victim to force that gang stalking victim to believe that that type of and amount of pain and anger that is being put on their brain during a staged event is their own, related to the content of the stage event. So let me give you an example concerning this. Let me go back to the YouTube video. See, because when you see the color coding, that color coding gets sent back to their computer. Their computer is then pre-programmed to stimulate the brainwave. Okay, see, because like, so say if you got a guy working on his car, and when he's working on his car, and he slips, and the wrench slips. All right, so imagine this being his normal brainwave as he's working on a car. And then as soon as he slips the wrench and he starts to feel extreme pain and anger at the same time, that's what the brainwave looks like when he's experiencing anger. That's just an example, okay? So do you see how the brainwave has changed? Okay, this is when he's just normally working on his car, not feeling no pain or anger. This is his brain wave once he's processing the pain and anger once the wrench slipped and he hit his knuckle. Okay, right? Remote neural monitoring is cataloging those emotional cluster frequencies and that brain wave. They can then harvest it and then superimpose it onto a clone brainwave frequency and send it to the gang stalking victim. And if you don't believe that, well, listen to this.
The other term is psychotronic weaponry we use for it. The remote neural monitoring is one of the terms we use for it. The other term is psychotronic weaponry. weaponry that has been designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction. Okay. Robert Duncan worked on some of the
what's important concerning this video series, okay, is that when you look at, hold on a second because this video's got to go through the commercial. When you look at what this technology is capable of, so what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for this to process, so I can show you, re-show you a relevant part of this video. Let me show you its title real fast. Okay, bring that up. A Simulated Realities YouTube channel. What's relevant about this is that if you got a guy working on his car and his wrench slips and he bangs his hand and instantly he feels extreme pain and anger simultaneously, they can harvest that from that person if that person's brain is being remotely monitored and their processes are being choreographed and harvested. Now, you take that extreme pain and anger felt when you instantly massively hurt your hand when the wrench slips off the nut that he's working on his car, right? They harvest that. We're talking about extreme anger, extreme pain because he hurt his hand, okay? Now then you got a guy coming out of a grocery store, and while he's coming out, another one's going in. Well, the other one that's going in will step on the guy's foot of the guy who's coming out. Now the guy who's going in that steps on his foot is wearing black and white, right? And the victim who's having their foot stepped on is a gang stalking victim. And he's got a corn on the edge of his right foot big toe. So whenever he bumps it or somebody steps on it or whatever, it's going to hurt like hell, right? Well, the perpetrators know that. Because when you're a victim of remote neural monitoring, they can monitor you from head to toe, and they can see through your eyes. So they're aware he's got a bunion on his toe. Okay, so that means then that they're aware that every single time he stubs his toe, he's experiencing extreme pain. But what you got to understand is that the guy that's coming out of the store is a gang stalking victim. The guy that's going in that steps on his toe is wearing black and white, which I showed you in this video already. And so when the victim gets his toe stepped on, he's seeing who's doing it, and therefore he's seeing the black and white that guy is wearing. So the black and white gets transferred by and through the sine wave